My name is Claire Mitchell. I'm 35 years old, and until that week, I believed family meant showing up for each other, even when it wasn't convenient. I had spent 12 years building a successful career as a financial analyst in Chicago. I wasn't rich, but I planned carefully, lived below my means, and saved for the future. My older sister, Melissa, lived very differently. She chased appearances, loved expensive things, and somehow always expected someone else to cover the bill. Our parents never seemed to notice. Or maybe they did, but they always found an excuse. "Melissa's under a lot of stress," Mom would say. Dad's favorite line was, "You're the responsible one, Claire. She needs more help than you do." Over the years, I paid for countless family emergencies that somehow stopped being emergencies once my credit card came out. I told myself I was helping, because that's what family does. Then came my niece Emma's Sweet 16. That Tuesday morning, Melissa sent me a text that simply read, "Wire me $7,200 today." Before I could even respond, more messages appeared. Photos of a luxury ballroom, a designer dress that probably cost more than my first car payment, a custom cake with gold decorations. Every picture looked like it belonged in a celebrity magazine. I finally replied, "Melissa, this has to be a joke." Her answer came instantly. "You're her aunt. Family helps family. I already promised everyone." I stared at my phone, trying to decide whether to laugh or be offended. Instead, I typed one word: "No." 10 minutes later, Dad called. His voice was colder than I'd ever heard. "Either you pay for your niece's party, or don't bother calling yourself part of this family anymore." I didn't answer Dad right away. I simply ended the call and set my phone on the kitchen counter. For a few minutes, I just stood there, staring out the window, thinking about every time I'd heard those same words in different forms. Family helps family. Somehow, those rules only seemed to apply to me. The truth was, this wasn't the first time Melissa had expected me to rescue her. 2 years earlier, I'd quietly paid 3 months of her rent after she quit another job. Last summer, I'd covered half the cost of a family beach vacation because she couldn't afford it. When Emma needed money for a school trip, I paid without hesitation because I wanted my niece to have the opportunity. Not once did Melissa ever pay me back. Not once did she even say thank you. By lunchtime, my phone was filled with messages from relatives asking why I was making such a big deal over just a little help. That was when I realized Melissa had already told everyone her version of the story. Instead of defending myself, I decided to find out exactly where $7,200 was supposed to go. I enlarged the photos she'd sent me and noticed the ballroom's name printed on a welcome sign near the entrance. A quick search led me to the event company's website. I called and introduced myself. "I'm Claire Mitchell," I said calmly. "I have a question about an upcoming Suite 16 reservation." The event manager couldn't discuss private details, but one innocent comment caught my attention. "We're still waiting on confirmation for several optional upgrades," she said. Optional upgrades? That wasn't the emergency Melissa had described. She hadn't been trying to save Emma's birthday. She'd been trying to finance a luxury celebration she couldn't afford. As I thanked the manager and ended the call, a completely different idea crossed my mind. One phone call wasn't going to solve this. It was going to expose everything. I poured myself a cup of coffee before making the next call. I wasn't angry anymore. Anger makes people reckless. I wanted to be careful, calm, and completely within my rights. Months earlier, Melissa had asked if I could help secure Emma's dream venue because my credit score was stronger and the manager knew me from a charity event I'd organized there. Wanting to help my niece, I'd agreed to place the reservation under my name until Melissa reimbursed me. She never did. I called the event manager again. "Hi, this is Claire Mitchell. I'm listed as the financial guarantor for the Suite 16 on Saturday." "Yes, Ms. Mitchell," she replied politely. "I'd like to withdraw my financial responsibility for every optional service attached to my name." There was a brief pause. "I understand," she said. "We'll update the reservation immediately. The remaining balance will become the client's responsibility before setup begins." "Thank you," I answered. That's all I needed. I hung up feeling lighter than I had in years. I wasn't canceling Emma's birthday. I wasn't asking anyone to break a contract. I was simply removing my own financial commitment, one that had been treated like an unlimited credit line instead of a generous favor. That evening, Melissa flooded social media with countdown posts. 3 more days. Emma's dream party is almost here. Friends filled the comments with heart emojis and excitement. Looking at those posts, no one would have guessed there was still a large unpaid balance waiting behind the scenes. My phone stayed unusually quiet. Melissa assumed I'd finally given in and wired the money. Dad probably believed I'd chosen family over pride. Neither of them knew the venue had already updated the account. I finished dinner, turned off my phone, and went to bed without checking another message. At exactly 7:30 the next morning, my phone vibrated across the nightstand. The screen filled with missed calls. Melissa. Dad.
Mom.
Then Melissa's name appeared again. I answered on the 4th ring. Before I could say a word, Melissa exploded. "What did you do?" she shouted. "The venue says the optional package isn't guaranteed anymore. They're demanding payment before they'll finish the setup." I stayed calm. I removed my financial responsibility. That's all. "You embarrassed me," she screamed. "No," I replied. "You embarrassed yourself by promising something you hadn't paid for." A minute later, Dad grabbed the phone. "You've gone too far, Claire. Call them back and fix this." "I didn't create the problem," I said evenly. "I just stopped pretending it was mine." For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then, I heard another voice in the background.
"Emma."
"Mom, what's happening?" Melissa tried to lower her voice, but it was too late. The decorations, the photo booth, the upgraded dessert table. She whispered. Emma interrupted her. "Wait, those were all extras?" Silence. Then my 16-year-old niece said something none of us expected. "I never asked for any of that." The room went completely quiet. "I wanted my friends there," Emma continued. "I didn't need a luxury ballroom or a $700 cake. I just wanted everyone to stop arguing." Even Dad had no answer. For years, everyone had insisted they were doing everything for Emma. But hearing her speak, the truth became impossible to ignore. This had never been about making a teenage girl happy. It had been about appearances, about impressing relatives, about pretending to live a lifestyle someone else was expected to finance. And for the first time in years, no one blamed me, because there was nothing left to blame except the choices that had brought them there. The party still happened that weekend. There were fewer decorations, a simpler cake, and no expensive extras, but every photo I later saw showed Emma smiling wider than anyone else in the room. She wasn't disappointed. She was relieved. A week later, Melissa finally called without yelling. She didn't apologize, but for the first time, she didn't ask me for money either. Our parents stopped insisting that I keep the peace by opening my wallet. Whether they admitted it or not, they had finally seen where years of favoritism had led. As for me, I made one decision that changed my life more than that phone call ever did. I stopped confusing guilt with love. Helping someone should always be a choice, never an obligation wrapped in emotional threats. Family isn't measured by how much money you can wire in a moment of pressure. It's measured by respect, honesty, and gratitude. Sometimes people think saying no tears a family apart. What I've learned is that entitlement does that long before one honest answer ever can. And the day I stopped paying for everyone else's expectations was the day I finally started investing in my own peace.